In order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty,
Roll call.
Mayor Brian Lewis.
Here.
Council President Roger Perry.
Here.
Councilor Jeff Hensley.
Here.
Councilor Dina Oliveris.
Present.
Councilor Joe Parsons.
Present.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
And visitors. Great job. Bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Second motion to pay bills. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One correction we need. One correction we need to do on the minutes from last month. There is, down here it says, Council President Oliveris.
Yeah, no,
Well,
So, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
all right, a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Public comment, this time to speak to the council. Or the mayor on any subject, including what's on the list on the agenda, except for public hearings. Time limit is 3 minutes per person. We have any public comment? Nope. And what's your name?
I do have a comment. You guys really make us work for it to get here with those stairs.
Just think of the exercise.
I thought of that too, but I'm still okay now. I'm Sarah Brown with 11 Local Paper.
Thank you. And city reporters report.
Oh, okay. Well, a few things, we'll go over finances. So we got our final water hauling bill for the year, and our total for water hauling for this fiscal year ended being just a little over $90,000. We had scraped together 100,000 altogether, including all of our contingency budget was supposed to have been used if it got that far, but it ended up being just 90,000. So that's 14,000 left we can spend on other things, and we do need to spend it on some other things. There were a couple of things that have been since then. The first one is that the liability insurance ended up being cut just a little too much, so we need to do some adjustments in a supplemental budget later. The other thing is that CIS raised the healthcare and premiums at the beginning of this year, so we do need to make some adjustments. We're not talking about like $10,000. This is going to be some small adjustments, but we will have to make them. And it's kind of annoying. Oh, sorry, I was talking about.
No, she was trying to take a picture.
Yours needs a photo.
Great. Yeah, it's been kind of a paradoxical fiscal year for us, because if you take away all of the money we've been spending on water hauling, we've actually been doing pretty well financially. Cool. All told, the first 4 out of the 6 months of this fiscal year so far, we ran a surplus, and our total surplus for the year, other than water hauling, is $13,000. So things are going good. We had originally had a resolution on here to transfer 10,000 from LGIP into our checking account, but I'm going to tell you to cut it in half because we don't need it. And last month, our LGIP account filled in with about $5,111. So we're going to cut that 5,000 out and move it here. But that means we're finally growing our reserve account, only by $111 last month, but it's finally growing again. So it looks like we are out of the woods
For a while.
for a while, yeah, until it starts again. I did work with OWRD and the Legislative Fiscal Office in Salem. So our money is going to come to us directly because the legislature made a mistake for our water system expansion appropriation. They're going to take care of putting it in the bill and making sure it gets passed this time. There's going to be one giant omnibus bill this session where they just do all of their budget changes, and we are going to be in there, and they are going to carry all of that water for us. That's going to be in February. So after that, that will be fixed up. Still working on recruiting engineering RFPs, but basically any water system expansion is on hold until the money comes in And until we get an engineer who can actually sit down with Ray and talk about what this is actually going to take, and we can finally actually do this. So until then, we're not going to, there's really nothing else to do other than all the regulatory paperwork I have to fill out.
Is there any way to be proactive with the engineer, or you just put it out there and you have to wait for anybody? I mean, is there any way to like beat the pavement and?
I mean, yeah, I've been calling a few different firms and there's a couple said no, one is considering a bid right now. So I just still have to keep calling and going, hey, who wants to do this? And that's kind of what I'm focused on there. And the regulatory paperwork, there's a lot of regulatory paperwork for us to fill out to even have conversations about water system expansion. Yeah. We needed to take some actions related to our budget. We need to have an official newspaper for the year. And we need to designate a budget officer. We've been using Lebanon Express forever for budget notices, and then they collapsed. And we were using the Democrat Herald, but I wanted to suggest we use the Lebanon Local Sweet Home New Era because their prices are cheaper and they're actually covering news in the area. Whereas the Albany Democrat Herald is not. I was at the City Recorders Conference last fall. There was a workshop with a reporter from the Salem Press Journal, I think. One of the big newspapers in Salem. I don't remember the name, but he was talking about how newspapers are going under. And he was talking to me about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I had a beer with somebody from the Democrat Herald the other night, and he was joking about how much he just doesn't care about covering East County now that they're out." So it seems to me that the Democrat Herald really doesn't care. I don't think that we should be giving them public money if they're not going to be covering the area as much. So that's why I wanted to suggest designating the Lebanon Local Sweet Home New Era as the official newspaper for this fiscal year.
I like local myself. I like to support local.
Cool. Would somebody like to make that motion?
Motion.
Very bottom.
I move to designate the Lebanon Local Sweet Home New Era as the official newspaper for employee practice. I'll second it. All in favor? Any opposed?
Alrighty. So the next thing is going to throw a little bit of a curveball here, is that there is a distinct possibility that next Wednesday I will be offered a job at a different location. And that is a position that would start in March. So that would give us a month to recruit somebody to replace me if that happens. So I want to discuss the potential for a transition plan because we're going to have to put out a job description, have a set compensation scheme for it, and then have a plan for who's going to do interviews. I will note, I'm still going to be a member of the City Recorders Association if that happens. Whoever replaces me will be a member of that. And through the City Recorders Association, there's a mentorship program. So I can continue to help steer the ship and make sure everything gets done. There's a very smooth transition, help whoever comes after me. And it won't involve the city contracting with me to do that. I think was it 2021? After Judy left, she was contracted back for a bit to write the budget or something, Roger?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was something like that. She was brought back on a contract basis, but that was something I would do for free, and it'll be formalized through the City Recorders Association. So whatever I can do to make sure things move forward, but basically by that time, we'll have all the money needed for a new well to be built or another expansion of our water system, and we'll have the worst of this fiscal crisis taken care of. We will have I had a third thing that I was thinking of.
So by March, you're saying we're gonna have this? We're gonna have the money, we're gonna have everything?
Yeah.
That's pretty aggressive, especially if we're not getting anybody to do an engineering deal.
Well, I in that amount of time, I would have to find the engineer to do it. So the idea is that by that time, we would find somebody who wants to take the bid. The money will be secured because it's the legislative session's only going to the beginning of March. So that'll all be taken care of.
And so when we went through the changeover before, there was talk about there are people out there that like step in part-time or whatever. I forget what it was within the professional organization or something. So we need to keep that in our back pocket in case we can't recruit. And then I really, having gone through this before painfully, I think there needs to be at least one, maybe two people who would, if you get to the point that you can train someone, hopefully
Yeah.
before you leave, that they also get trained in how to do the bills, and how to do the whatever. With our past experience with people coming and leaving, we can't be left like last time.
Exactly.
And I'm not volunteering to do it. I'm just saying it needs to be done.
Exactly.
Because somebody needs to know all the passwords and be able to write the bills and do all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. And that is something I talked to this potential new employer about, that they understand that I'm going to have to walk somebody through a transition, and even after I moved over, to still have to be in a position where I'm helping out here and there. So. I know, yeah, the League of Oregon Cities has a list they maintain of people who can come and do jobs like this. I got the password to get into that on the website, so it's going to be easy to look through the list and see who wants to do it. We are going to be able to cast a wider net this time. I'm familiar with a little bit more of the range of options that we have to put a job description out there. So I think we can get a much larger pool of people interested this time. So
People who aren't going from another state and wanting to be moved out here and.
yeah,
That was interesting.
yeah. So it's very possible that next Wednesday they'll go, you know what, never mind, this is gonna work out, and that'll be that. Last meeting I mentioned I was gonna look for something new this year, but I was probably not thinking about doing that until summer. I haven't been sending out resumes or applying for things. This was something that I was approached and recruited for. So I figure at least a month should help out with that a little bit. But in the meantime, so I was hired at 35,000 a year. I currently get 38. The big question is, do we want to do 35? Do we want to do something between that and 38? Do we want my current salary to be the recruiting amount, or is there a different number? Okay. Do we want to maybe put a range, like say between 35 and 38? Yeah.
No, you don't want somebody that's really qualified to turn it down because the wages don't go to 50,000.
Yeah.
And I think you can get something that.
Yep. All right. I think the job description that we used last time is sufficient to be used again. In my own time working here, I haven't really seen a whole lot of deviation from what's there. So I think there's not too much doctoring we have to do to a job description. I think we could just use the old one.
And we need to be very clear when we do the background check.
Yes.
Since that was almost.
Really? Were they?
To me financially,
Oh,
because I agreed upon XYZ and they said, well, we give you this, now that's another $400. And I got reimbursed, but I was paying out of my credit card. And I'm like, yeah, no.
that's like,
So
yeah. Well,
we just need to be.
yeah. Thankfully, the city has a card now, so we can pay for things like that up front. And just saying it now, if everybody's okay with that, because we're going to need to do something pretty quickly. So as long as everybody's okay, I'll plan on using the city credit card for that purpose, should it come up. That is something we could talk about too. So currently we had the ordinance that we passed last summer said that the title is city administrator / recorder. And because there had been references to both in the past, so it was like, let's just make it one / the other. So we could recruit for that, or you could say, we're going to call it recorder this time. And then change the ordinance after they get hired to go, we're just gonna call it recorder this time.
Do you understand that was creating some issues with, you know?
Yeah, that was also an issue. Given the job description here, often when I would go to conferences, I'd say, I'm city recorder of Sodaville. Like, great, who's your boss? I want to talk to them, not you.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why we.
Yeah. So,
For addendum to it, so.
yeah, I think administrator / recorder would help.
Well, I think it also is causing issues with Some of the bathrooms, some of the old,
Yeah,
some of them would say administrator, some of them would say city reporter.
yeah. So it was really persnickety. You could have gone, hey, it says administrator, I'm not doing that. Yeah,
And I think it opens our pool a little bit better, but it also limits it, because we cannot afford to get, a city, the higher one, just that, because.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 hours, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Salary, but still.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think there's basically three different demographics we can target on this. That one would be, somebody who's kind of getting their start and wants to get into the business of government administration. Somebody like me who's working several jobs, and this is a perfect fit in all of those, or somebody who's retired from being a city clerk or something. It's like, oh, I want some more money, and I'm kind of old in retirement, and comes back. That's something I can use as there are a number of places and groups I know I can go, hey, we've got a position open. It would be great for X, Y, and Z people, and everybody in that room is going to go, I know somebody who fits that demographic.
Because some people switch to people and they want to get extra.
Exactly.
So we use that. Typically, it's not.
All the time, yeah.
Well, and your hours and has been very flexible, and that's
Oh,
really
yeah.
important to some people. Some
It is.
places are like, 9 to 5, you've got to be there and you can't change your days, so
Yeah.
that's.
Oh, yeah.
That we have.
Yes.
Is almost.
Yes, it's for insurance.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of people out there that are not being offered insurance.
Having been a nurse and worked in the hospital, the insurance here is better than I've ever gotten as a nurse, working for the same organization that my health plan was for. And I had to pay for it my entire career, which just slays me.
You're talking with all of my friends in the legislature who are all high and mighty because they're a chief of staff for a senator. And like, working as the city recorder of Sodaville, I have a better health plan than you do. Mr. Chief of Staff.
Boy.
It does. Yep. So in line with the thrill of the budget, we do need to formally appoint a budget officer for the fiscal year. The state expects that to be done at the beginning of the year, every year, unless there's something in your charter that says somebody specific is the budget officer. So I say for now, we appoint me, and if somebody ends up replacing me, that person can be appointed to that position. But it's a procedural motion that has to be done at the beginning of the year. So the mayor has to say, I appoint Alex, and then there has to be a motion to confirm the mayor's appointment. I will say, under the law and the charter, the mayor is empowered to appoint anybody to be the budget officer. So he could say somebody other than me in this room can do it, but it is very much recommended that I just be the guy who does it. Yeah. Yeah.
The mayor's called.
Reporter Alex would be the budget officer for 2025.
Everybody gotta make a motion.
You gotta make a motion to approve.
Get the motion to approve that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right. Is there any other discussion we want to have about transition processes? Anybody want to volunteer to be on a hiring panel? I think when we did it originally, it was Roger, JD, and Dina. So
Is that what it was all there was?
I know, right?
You were there, Ray was there, but you guys were screaming busy.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be on that hiring panel. It's probably good to have at least one of our chief counselors on there. JD, I don't know if you want to. Okay, there we go.
You're not volunteer.
Okay.
I mean, just kind of walk through on what to.
On the other side of the table. I think we had standard questions too, and a scoring.
Yeah, there was a-
Stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
A couple of people's experience.
All right, so Joe, and then does anybody else want to volunteer?
Afternoon, I'm a bit more kind of, interviews, it's a little tough for me to break away sometimes. So
All right,
that's my.
Cross that bridge once we get there, right? Whereas
gotcha. I think, yeah, since it's not a full body of the city council, we can just say, hey, anybody want to tag in on this interview today?
The only thing with that is
Yeah.
you don't get consistency on how
Okay.
things are. I really support having the same people interview.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roger, you want to do it?
Thank you. Or.
All right.
Good to know what you're doing, but I can't do it.
Good job.
I don't know. I just see.
Okay. JD and Roger it is. So JD, me, Roger, and Joe.
Gotta make sure that they have, some managerial skills that, they handle this project going forward, so.
Yeah. it's a big thing.
Unless, did you want to be on it?
I think that, yes.
Yeah.
He's been in the high range for 17 years.
Oh,
I don't think it'd be good. Pretty easy right now. I'm getting up like 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'm summertime. Yeah. Around.
I think you should be on it. I think, it doesn't hurt to have several people.
More
Yes.
than last.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have less.
yeah, I know the part of the deal is that we do need to avoid having to quorum with the city council. I could say alternatively, state law will allow an executive session to be held, so it could be the three of you get together and you have an executive session where you interview candidates. And we don't have to, because that's authorized by law, we don't have to worry about a quorum issue. Yeah. So if you're okay with the three of you doing it, then you just plan on holding an executive session.
Or you could even do, we used to do 2 interviews.
Okay.
Couple days, and take out the ones that they want to spend on finding an interview.
So like, if it's me, JD, Roger, and Joe, we pick the first group and then send them to you to vet. Who do you think you want? Okay. We didn't do that in the past, but if we want to, we can plan on doing it.
We did background check though.
Background stuff is my old.
Yeah, I think
We have such cases,
Yeah, take
yeah,
We all address it then.
Will we have the option to do, remote interviews? Because we did several of those.
yeah, mine was remote. Yeah, we can plan on doing that.
I know at our place, we lose so many candidates.
Well, we had a decent one in the past. We all know about that. Issue, so.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, I will keep everybody informed of what ends up happening next week. Said it's possible that I won't end up getting it after all, and we'll just keep on keeping on, and then it'll be. I wasn't considering looking for something new for a while, but it just kind of popped up. And I was like, so. Yeah, my main concern was making sure we got the money taken care of for a water system expansion, and that's going to be taken care of. So. Oh yeah, holy shit. Yeah, it's a bittersweet moment for me because I've loved working here. I think we've done a lot of good work, made a lot of progress.
You know that last goal.
Yeah,
You gotta stay. More than what we know what's going on in the city.
yeah, I made it a lot easier to administer the work of city governance, so it's not going to be as much of a hassle for somebody to walk in and go, "What's going on?" Because all of our bylaws our ordinances, everything's digitized, and we
We have to go back to the archives, but that was there, there was 1885 here.
yeah.
And hopefully billing is easier.
Yeah, no, I've made a lot of, especially this last fall, because I just had so little time to do it. I've made a lot of improvements to just how I work on billing that have made it a lot easier and go a lot quicker. I think when I started here, it probably took me a few days to get billing done. Now I can get it done pretty much a day just because I figured out how to streamline a lot of the work that's being done. Yes, the accountant's still coming in.
Still pretty committed.
Yeah. Yep. So. Yeah, it's the end of mine, so.
Our last time number was about 5.19%. Again, we're trucking the water on September 1st, so that kind of makes it hard to get a good reading. Last day we pulled water was the 12th of December. Reservoir hit the full mark and maintained level since January 4th. My reading of the city's meter is actually, I thought on January 18th, I found 2 homes that have burst pipes. One of them was roughly 12,500 gallons. The other one was roughly 16,500 gallons. We were going to have divers do the reservoir this weekend, but they are getting help with another job, so they'll be not here for 2 weeks to do our cleaning and inspection of reservoirs. I recommend lifting water restrictions this month. And I will be in Sun River March 4th through the 8th for the annual conference. And also my certification for this water expired from July, so I will get that class on Monday the 4th while I'm in Sun River. That's all I have.
Are you gonna talk about the water?
Nobody really anything about what's going on with the dams. But I tell them about what they're supposed to be after the middle of the summer. I think they're still dumping a lot. I mean, the same dam is still, yeah, I did research and everything. Yeah, Tanner.
Yeah, so the part of the process that went through that with that court order is that they are slowly refilling them. And then next summer they're gonna do the same thing again, unless either that judge reverses his decision, or a court case at a higher court reverses that decision, or an act of Congress occurs and Congress doesn't get its act together on anything. So don't expect this to be what they finally come together for, is my opinion. There are a few things going on. I think the city of Lebanon has retained a lawyer to file a lawsuit. I think Sweet Home is also talking about doing that same thing. A number of the cities out there are looking at that. And then Joe and I are going to go to a meeting, a roundtable with the local cities here next month. We're gonna have 2 counselors go to that meeting, so if anybody else wants to. It is going to be on, let's see, February 16th, Friday.
Is it about though?
It's gonna be about the dam drawdowns, so it's gonna be
Dam draw.
the dam drawdowns. Yeah, the city would get, well, it's gonna be a lot of local cities and counties. And Replicate is putting that together. We're gonna meet with the Army Corps of Engineers and see if there's anything that can be done to make this better, but ultimately it's going to take an action by the court. Our mayor signed a joint letter to the governor to see if she can, kind of take the courts around to, there was some other cities before that signed a letter to the judge saying, hey, could you fix this? Our congresswoman signed a letter to the judge saying, hey, could you fix this? But it's all going to come down to either the judge out of his own goodwill sees this and goes, oh, maybe I should rethink this, or a lawsuit forces him to, or a lawsuit at a higher level reverses the decision, or Congress does something. The likely it is that Congress is going to do anything. It's gonna be at 1 p.m. So. Yeah.
So can I go back to your report? The people who had the heck of big leaks, are they fixed? Are they off? Are they?
The 2 burn pipes.
Yeah.
Were dealt with right away. Yes, that there was. Called them and left the messages that there were shut off due to the high level of water use in the short time. One of them. Meter while I was trying his water. And a little bit later, he done some investigating on his property, found there's a pipe burst in his shed. That he found hot rods and it was all down. And the water all straight into them.
The double inside.
Elderly woman to have a lot of shoddy help and work around her place.
So we was not talking water. Logging pavement, his job. There was so much ice. You know, as soon as he found, we didn't know that the water was burst. I hate to see him pay water restriction rates. Either one of them pay water restriction rates when our things feel right back up. It didn't really affect.
Work to get it right, but the wells took care of it and brought it back.
You know, with this ice.
So what, it depends on what that cost to us, you know, I can get that.
Right, it was kind of, extenuating circumstances with the ice and everything.
So you're not saying they don't pay at all, they just pay the regular rates,
Right,
not that.
that's what
I mean, we were still on water restrictions, but those are some mitigating circumstances that I pray we don't have again anytime soon. I wouldn't feel comfortable with saying, oh, well, you don't have to pay for it, but I don't know, I'm open to other comments.
The smaller amount, the one that was like 13,000, 12,500, that one, their bill was probably gonna be about like 450 or something like that. And they never use anywhere near that much, so we could just cut the bill in half, because it's still, they're still gonna pay more than they would. But because it was a natural disaster, you know, I think cutting it in half is something that also work.
And that's the older rate.
Yeah.
Because I think
Yeah.
under the.
Yeah, they're not high users.
Just that one day.
Just that one.
Unfortunately, that's a little bit of a help a lot because otherwise. The first.
Like the school, right?
They stopped, which would have been days later. He wasn't getting around.
Get up to it. So are you saying that you started out saying we shouldn't charge them the water hauling restrictions, right? And you're saying we should cut even more and charge, just to be clear, I'm not trying to be cranky.
Yeah, that would be my suggestion, is to cut it in half, because even at the non-restriction rates, they're still gonna be paying a lot of money. And I don't know, it's a big hit, so that was my idea, but it's ultimately up to the council to decide.
And I'm sorry, I haven't had enough coffee. Are you saying that this bill would be $400 and so cut it to 2?
Yes.
And they don't normally use 200?
No, or not. I don't know, Lebanon has gone over 60 since I've been here. They usually keep to the minimum pretty closely. We want people to be conserving, and they've been conserving, and now they're.
Right. Like double pass.
In the past, when there are payment plans. There was one over the summer, the big one that we just kept not being able to turn off. So for months there was a problem. So we cut his bill in half every month and he paid, so.
So prior to the community, this thing made deals with people and cut the rates and stuff. After the meters, it was kind of said that that was more forgiveness. Yeah.
We do need to
But
be consistent and fair.
this is, natural disaster act of God, where we call it. It's, and something will.
And people said, there's a next time when they're using this much water, they'll walk around there and check this stuff. And if ice storms like we're on the edge, leaky, I don't think it did up that, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody get up there, they stop this. I was down here, it stops up there.
Yeah, ordinarily, when there's an enforcement action like this, people are responsible for mitigating it, but if they're prevented from mitigating it themselves, I think we can give them some lenience.
I think it
Like,
could.
there was a guy last month who just had a problem. I think he went out to look at that. And we're like, yeah, sorry, you pay for it. You gotta maintain your water system. But this was like a very special.
And that's what we've done in the past, like I said, it is, you know, it's uncontrollable circumstances, you know, we take that into account. And, you know, if they try to address it, you know, as soon as they find out about it, you know, we've always tried to work with the citizens and help them out. You know, I mean,
They're cordial the whole time.
the problem is whenever, you know, it's brought to their attention and they choose to say, well, I don't think it's my problem, no, it's lost, right?
My wife left the home door.
Yeah, that was with one of them. I called when they called the city hall after JD left a note. And I was like, yeah, you used like 13,000 gallons. Like, no, I put, it's like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
You can't get around it. No, that was not
Like that, I mean, you know, it's still tougher to work with.
Yeah, but when they actually weren't doing that, oh, yeah, okay, something did break. Yeah, and also they know that they can't fake their way out of it. So once they understood that it was their problem, even without asking, like, okay, what's the bill gonna be? It's like, okay, well, I think we can.
But so we do try to stay fairly consistent with what we do, and I do know that there's been, you know. Places down there that we basically put them up. Payment plan, you know. Cause that was the control too, so.
Yeah.
Stuff that we need to consider, so.
Thing was, it was more water.
Right. That's something to take into consideration. That's a big consideration.
Well, if we, kind of breaks down some stuff like storage, you know, what may be the problem.
Well, we need to figure out what the.
Yeah, not just some.
Are we gonna just use regular rates or do we wanna cut it in half or something?
So what would be the difference between regular rates and cutting half? So.
You'd be shaving like a few $dozen off the bill, so it would still be pretty substantial for them.
The substantial 400? Or, I mean, because I can't do the math. on
No,
the brain.
if it's like 400, then it might-
20,000.
if it's at 440, it might be cut down to a little less than 400.
Or which, if it's non-water hauling rates? Or you
So if we, right now, the full bill for that one would be $450 under restriction rates.
For the 20,000, really?
For the 13,000.
I would think it would be more. That's just me, sorry.
I can go ahead and I can try one thing, so.
Well, I remember somebody coming and talking about their bill is like $200 and $300 every month all the time, so. Someone who had this big of a leak, it's like, I
Yeah.
don't wanna say only, because that is more.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on a fixed income, that's a lot.
Yeah, I ran the numbers a couple days ago. I'll go ahead and just run them right now. Get you to restart QuickBooks, but it's not.
And again, my whole thing is not to be the Grinch, but to be
Yeah.
fair and consistent with everyone else. Knowing that, you know, hopefully we don't have any noise from it.
Yeah.
Well, we can have rain.
December 20. Yeah. Jump to 60 degrees on the past. Oh, yeah, that's the answer to your question about Sandy River. That's one reason why it's high, is all that snow's not enough.
Well, yeah, plenty of room behind the dam to hold it out, right?
That's just the normal thing that we have, you know, McDowell Creek flows into that below the dam, we can. Take any of those other tricky areas, right? We can.
And snow level is going to be, maybe 67 degrees.
Yeah, sorry. Well, maybe not, yes.
And if it rains and it's 65,
On this question, I just say that I'm both of them. That's right. Standards for right now. Get that.
Raise rate and
Obviously, at the raise rate. Yeah, because that's where we're at, is the raise rates. I figure that's a good solid.
I could be on board with that.
Like I said,
I mean, because like, It was an emergency, but, you know, it's anything behind the meter, you know, our responsibility. We had this whole discussion just last month. And then people that happened in the summertime. Yeah, it wasn't a freak storm, but, you know, like these point, these meters, I mean, you wouldn't find that lead for a month. The that way we used to do it before, so we're mitigating the city budget. And from just past stuff, giving people breaks. We'll stick with the tradition, I suppose.
Well, I don't know that we've been doing a lot of breaks. I think we've been doing more of a payment plan. We've done a couple of breaks, but I think historically it's been a payment plan.
Yeah.
I just think we evaluate every situation, right? I mean, that's, if I've been on council, that's pretty much what we've done. And, you know, you kind of sort of have to, right? I mean, there's some mitigating circumstances and some of them that are, you know.
Yeah.
So,
In,
and next storms is typically,
yeah, in the few that we've encountered the situation with, as I've been here, we have consistently said, if it's somebody not maintaining their stuff properly and their thing breaks, they're the ones that are told, okay, you are responsible for this. If it is an outside circumstances beyond either of their control, so for example, when the water meter thing was broken and the guy ended up just having a lot, that kind of thing was something that was beyond his control because we could not stop it. So that guy had his bill cut in half because his bill is going to be like $1,000 or something each time. Other people have gone through and yeah, they just weren't maintaining their stuff, pipes break, and they use a lot of water. And it's like, okay. And those people have been put on payment plans. And, you know, the only time every payment plan has been financed was actually it ended up being one of those people, their stuff broke. They got on a payment plan. Then a weather event resulted in their pipe bursting. We said, okay, we can refinance that, just basically kind of restart it so that you're not being hit because they had been consistently paying their bill. Yeah, so. That's one.
I'd like to know what those numbers mean though. I know it's not rebooting.
No, right.
So what is it if it's the hauling rate?
Well, we gotta do some quick generic.
Well, you can do it online.
It's basically $47 for every 2,500 gallons, so we got. 2,500 goes into 12.
So I miscounted, I think I probably just misremembered the math from the other day. Or I put the bill down as being 13,000 gallons altogether. And it actually ended up calculating to be about 250 rather than 450. So that was, I think, was just me misremember because I did this calculation last week and I think I probably just misremembered the number. So it was 250 for the 13,000. At the high rate, yeah.
That's with the, if you go over X amount of 10,000 and it.
Yeah.
Yada, yada. 9 cents or whatever it is.
Yeah.
234, that dropped it to 70 something. So there's one.
Nope, sorry, I got it wrong again. So because I didn't take out, rather than just deleting the old rates, I just kind of wanted them in there for reference purposes in the future. I put the wrong number in, so you can all look at this here. What is the calculation? Here's 0, there's 25, then I put 25 in the next one, 25 in the next one, and I put 6,000 in there, and that would reflect ultimately 13,500 gallons, and it ended up with $373.25. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I think it was last week when I did this that calculation, so I misremembered the number.
And then it would have been 250 regular.
Well, I put the wrong.
Close enough.
Let me try and put that in there. Yes. Yeah.
you had a question?
Yeah, as an example, if the bill was $400 and you're saying you want to cut our break or him wants a break. So let's shave off $100 from the bill. Is that $100 that would still have to be paid for, or since it's in this case, it was technically well water, there's not really any money lost to the city?
I mean, it's still money lost if you look at it in the overarching things, but because it was water we produced, we didn't have to pay for the trucking.
So essentially, the city taxpayers would not be covering that $100.
No.
It'd be like-
Yeah, it's not.
Lost
It's
revenue.
revenue, yeah, it's lost, it's a, yeah.
Lost
profit.
revenue. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so I did punch it in just now with the regular rates and it did come out to $250.50.
The hauling rates is $373.
Yeah.
I agree on the premise of some kind of mitigation. I don't want to say break, but a mitigation, because there wasn't anything they could do and there's nothing we can do about the weather. I just want to remain fair and consistent. I feel like breaking a broken record. I apologize for that. As to what that means exactly, I always think about what would another citizen say, hey, I'm having to pay blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
I just want to be fair and consistent.
Yeah, but it's, that's where we break down the overarching circumstances, you know, if that same person was whining and it was during the same high storm, they'd be at the same breach now, you know, but if it was a person, it's a hypothetical, say in the summertime and we know their water rates and they've always been reckless with their water rates and then something happens and it breaks, would they be deserving of the same type of thing? Probably not, because they're it's a historical thing, right? So we look at these customers, I wish I didn't know who it was, because that makes it personal, but these people don't ever use that much water. It'd be different if they were always pushing 70, 75 to 10, you know what I mean? And so it's that's the way I'm breaking it down. That's why I
Yeah.
said my
Basically, we're
thing is
giving them
it's
a
like,
$60 break off of the normal rate.
Most of
It's
the
about where it breaks
incidences
down.
that we have, they're high usage type things, are caused from leaks, not from the pipes bursting. It's very rare that we actually have burst pipes.
yeah, I was trying to put together a crazy hypothetical, you know?
Yeah, I think back to, like, we talked about the person who refinanced, there was a cold weather event, but not nearly the level of what happened this last week. So we didn't cut them a break for that. We just refinanced our payment plan because it was kind of like, well, you know, don't run water through your pipes when it's freezing outside. It's kind of just, you know, people know there's a lot of common sense things you can do to prevent you know, a problem like that, and they just didn't do the common sense things. Like, okay, well, it was you could have mitigated the weather. This week was a weather event that could not really have been mitigated, and I think that's the thing that separates it right now, as opposed to the last time there was a weather related thing, is that it could have been mitigated, but it wasn't. But the only reason they got a break was because they had been filling their part of the bargain on the refinance plan.
And normally, not that it really matters, but normally I read the meters every Monday. Monday was a holiday. Tuesday and Wednesday, I couldn't get here because of the ice.
Yeah.
So Thursday, when I did, that was the first chance I could read the meters, and that's when.
We caught it, and we caught it.
That means a lot.
I mean, I know where you're coming from. Now that you bring it up, it starts to make me readjust my point, you know, of where I stand, I guess. I mean, we're anywhere from 373 to 250 or 250 to 186. So those are our numbers. Cut in half, 186. Regular rate's 250.
I would just being on the outside over here, you are in water restrictions. I would use that one and cut it down from that.
Water restriction.
But then that would make it less than if they paid regular rates, right? 50% to me is a lot.
Okay, well,
I mean,
what's the number? 30%, 25%? They're at 373. We drop it, make it a clean 300. That's $75 off.
I mean, I want to be nice and fair, but this is
Yeah,
not my money,
Yeah.
so.
I don't know. 275, $100 off. I mean, that's not, that's like 92.
So
We're picking
I did
pennies.
talk to
Right, I know.
the 13,000 person, and the number I gave, I think that day, I was like, it's possible at the end of the month, your water bill, because it's gonna be 440, something like that. And like in the past, sometimes we've, you know, cut something in half, and I mentioned the number. It's possible we could cut it down to 250. And they were okay with that as a number. I didn't say this is what we were going to do. It was kind of discussing how it's been done before. So 250 is something they thought they could swallow. They would still need to be on a payment plan, but as far as that number was something they were okay with. So we said, okay, we're going to just use the regular rates to calculate it this time around. That is
Personally,
another rate.
I like the 186 just because it's the high rate. But in actuality, you know, like JD says, you know, I mean, he's getting ready to cut us off the high rate. We basically have not been trucking water in since early December. So, you know, I mean, if it would have been, you know, 2 weeks earlier, you know, they wouldn't be paying the high rate anyways, right? So
But-
we are in the high rate, and if we take it off 50%, you know, like I say, for an act of God, if you will, out of their control, they're basically only saving about $60 from what their normal rate would be for that uses of water. So it's the city kind of bending a little bit for something that's out of their control, but it's not totally giving in my opinion.
I guess it's also 3 times what they normally spend. I don't know. I
But
mean,
And that's
to
my
say
thought.
that we're not, you know, we weren't hauling water, so we shouldn't charge them that, just on that premise itself. Anybody else who's gone over 7,500 has been paying it, even though we haven't been hauling water. So,
No, that's
To
not
me-
necessarily true. I mean, not since I've been on council anyways.
no,
'cause
no,
there
right
has been
now,
time.
right now, we, last meeting, didn't we raise the rates for
Yeah.
water? So anybody over that amount, regardless of us not having to haul water since December, whatever, is paying that rate. So and just that point, I think is for me, not a comfortable point. The point that we couldn't even identify it because nobody could freaking get up here for days, I think that really bears a little bit more weight.
Okay,
Um,
that makes sense.
You know, and I think that we extended the water restriction a little bit because we're trying to cut these high users down. You know, and so in the past, I know when they quit trucking water, we pretty much end the water restriction.
and we waited like 1 month, but
But we pushed it out because we're trying to get control over our water. You know, so we could have, when they quit trucking water, we could have pulled it off from water restriction.
No, because we still we're not producing enough water.
I'm not sure that's how to make it.
Yeah. That's why we're not doing it till, I'm not suggesting doing it till the end of this month, is because the wells are just now able to.
don't quite know what they're gonna do yet.
Right. And they still need some tweaking.
Well, and that kind of goes with the grace of, I guess, giving them a little bit of a break is because of the conditions, we weren't able to read the meters. So how much water did we lose because we weren't able to do our job?
Yep.
You know, so I mean,
That was
I don't
the
know.
reason, that was the reason for putting in a new meter, so we would be able to tell right away if there was an issue.
and they work great.
Once you can get.
Yeah, once you can get
so you
to,
can get out of your driveway.
yeah,
This was the first time since I moved to Oregon that I literally couldn't leave my house.
yeah, same.
I called in and you're like, no, I'm not going anywhere either.
I didn't leave my driveway till Wednesday and I had to chain up my truck with instead of snow tires on around this whole drive, but still saying so nice to get out.
So whatever we do for the 13th around it, we need to do for the 20,
Yeah,
a percentage of something.
It's 16, but yeah.
it ended up being 16. Okay.
I'm still up to 186, so. I mean, after all.
I was just whatever.
I have 12.5 and 16.5.
Okay. So normal rates are split it by 2. I think those are the 2 options that have been brought up here, so.
Or you charge it all.
I mean,
Charge it all, or give them a break.
I want to give them a break because there was a part of that, there was Mother Nature, and it was because somebody didn't want to put their cleats on, their ice cleats, and come in and slash.
I just couldn't get my motorcycle out.
Um,
so, just as a parliamentarian here, try and sort it out for you. There seems to be 2 different, options. One is cut it in half or to use the non-restriction rate. Now, our council norms and procedures that we codified in ordinance would say that when there's that kind of discussion, the mayor kind of waits until the end, so as to not, improperly influence the discussion so that he maintains a neutral presiding officer. You have spoken, but basically now at the end, you can go, here's kind of what I think, and you could end up being the third vote on one side or the other, or you could just say, we're gonna vote now, Alex, please call it, and then somebody, you could entertain a motion to do one or the other, and if it passes, we do it. If it fails, then we entertain a motion to do the other one. And then, I know, right? Or, yeah, there comes a point where you just kind of have to go, okay, so we got two options, vote on one, vote on the other. So, Mr. Mayor, in accordance with our.
What about just charging 7,500 gallons full?
There's also.
Don't throw curveballs.
Me too, we're moving on.
We're supposed to do.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You know, I think we're, the other guy that had the meter that we couldn't fix, we got his.
Yeah,
I think we just take the rates that we've got right now and put them in. That's my.
so the rates with the water,
That's not how you want to use.
what you said was 186, you did the math, I can't do the math. I can live with that.
It's when you stick something.
Cause it's
Yeah,
375 to 373
Yeah,
and whatever the other one is.
Right,
It will be in the same ballpark.
right.
And I think I could feel comfortable talking to a citizen about that. He said, I have to pay, well, we couldn't get up here to check it, so there's our part on that. And, we charged them the rate that would, and we gave a break on that one, so I could support that and justify it.
You want to make the motion?
So like, I make the motion that we charge them the water hauling rates and then we give them a 50% discount. In that motion.
All in favor? You need a vote?
were you the second? Sorry.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter between one way or the other, you know, you get the party giving me a variance. This is on the roads where they was trying to bring the still my driveway to 22 feet wide. That's still on the books, and there's really only, what, two people that this would even affect. Back, well, it was when we were on council together, we had a guy come in who wanted to sell his property, but we wouldn't let him put in a gravel driveway back to his acre. It was forcing him to build a 22-foot wide paved road. Sodaville Road is 20-foot wide. So for a driveway to be 20 feet wide
With 5 foot gravel pits on both sides of it.
with 4 foot of pavement on it.
Yeah.
And that's still on the books.
Yeah, it never made sense to me.
But this is Lynn County's. This is what you guys voted, let me do. Is go off of Lynn County. Lynn County's ruling is for 1 to 2 houses, you can have a 12-foot or so driveway. If you do more than 2 houses, you have to have a paved road. They don't require a 22-foot wide paved road anymore.
Well, the reason why that 20-foot road bullshit came to me, and it was because, city administrator at the time, we decided we had to figure out the per county specs, because the road where you put your driveway in is actually a city street.
Right.
And that's different than some other private properties.
Yeah.
But still, no, I don't see no sense in it either. And I tried vetoing that way, that went in. Too bad, but it went in.
City streets aren't even 20.
Huh? I know.
No, it doesn't make any sense out here in this rural area. I mean, it just, it didn't make sense then, or it doesn't make sense now, so.
Right.
I'm on the same page with you on changing that ordinance. I mean, why do you have to put in a paved driveway if you have 2 houses that use the same driveway?
They still got gravel roads in it. I don't need to. pavement on on
But
driveway.
I'm sorry, isn't gravel better in the ice than paved? Yeah.
This ice wasn't though.
No,
We
it's
had the snow and then ice on top, but that stuff was slipping. So I've never been able to get up on my driveway. I had a hard time driving drive the excavator down through that, whatever you field, pull that truck down the ditch.
So we just need to initiate the ordinance change.
Yeah, so the vote tonight, in accordance with our zoning and development ordinance, is that anytime we're going to make a change to it, we have to vote to initiate it, so that then I can go research an amendment, and then our attorney reviews it, and then we bring something solid to the city council, so. That's that.
So I move to initiate the amendment for ordinance 19-2 to adopt Lynn County standards for drive.
That motion to approve.
This is to initiate it like this, right? So we'll have to vote on it again. It's just a matter of we get initiated.
And then the process goes through to write it, and we have attorney reviews, so we're doing our part. You got a script for the next one.
Which one are we on?
Ordinance 2401.
The trials.
No, the water rate increases.
It's resolution 2401 is the.
Yeah, both are the same number.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the first of the year. So.
So that's a public hearing.
Yes, ordinance 2401. Yep.
Mayor opens a public hearing. I want to open a public hearing to consider the ordinance. The hearing will be conducted as follows. I will make the opening statement as said in the ground rules. When testifying, please give your name and address for the record. For those of you testifying, please give testimony related to the ordinance and be as concise as possible. Although this is not necessary in most hearings, we may ask you to limit your testimony to no more than 3 minutes. Does any member of the audience have any objections to city council's jurisdiction in this matter? Does any member of city council have a conflict of interest with regard to this request?
No.
Does any council member have pre-hearing contact with any party involved in this case, either for or against the proposal? Alex chatted, the city administrator report read the ordinance in its entirety. Unless someone on the council would like to make a motion to have it read by 12.
I'll make a motion to read ordinance 2401 by title only.
In favor? Any opposed?
Let me open up the title. I'm gonna take question to ordinance 2401, increasing water rates. The title is read. You read the title?
Does anyone in council or staff have any questions?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So no, I didn't. Forgot. So next thing is for me to say, here's what we're talking about. So we have two different water rate systems. There's for during the normal periods and then during the restriction periods. We currently have, let's see. So for the non-restriction periods, we don't reach 2 cents per gallon until after 10,000 gallons have been used. And then they increase even more than that thereafter. So at the last council work session, we discussed having a change to the regular period water rates so that at 7,500, it gets to 2 cents per gallon. And then that's just every gallon after 7,500 is 2 cents. I want to say, as for your options right now, if we reach a consensus that, yeah, 2 cents is good, we like that, we want to move forward, then we can vote on that tonight. if you believe it warrants further discussion, you can table this. And go, we think we would maybe want to have another work session, or maybe we want to go to the next council meeting. So that is an option for how this discussion could go, is you could all decide, what this warrants some more time to think, of the 2 cents per gallon over. And we want to do that later, or, it's up to you.
I guess for me is we covered so much ground on that,
Mhm.
that, I would like to have a little more time to think about it, because when we raised the rates last time in June or July, I can't remember when we decided that, we thought we were all good. Months later,
We had
in the
the
situation.
drawdown of the.
So we have, I think it was Jamie who put together a really good thing of how many gallons we've used through the wells. We have kind of an account with the way that Ray had trucked water, so we have an idea, at least 3 years of, there's a 2 years of history, tracking. And I guess for me, where I'm going with this, will that 2 cents, and it's hard to do water through the year. I guess we don't know, do we have an idea of how much we've sold? Yeah, we do, right? Just a generic number on the, let's say, 400,000 for this last quarter. Right? I guess where I'm being long here is, will that 2 cents above the 7,500 be able to reach that goal of the reason why we're putting it in there is to have the money left over to create enough wealth so that when we're hauling water, if we do aren't hauling water, it's gonna cover that.
Well, this ends up being kind of a cost recovery mechanism for the money that we didn't raise so far this year, from the high users during the water rate period. So they're kind of buying down the extra money we ended up spending on that. Realistically though, when it comes to the next fiscal year in spring, we're gonna have to have a conversation with Ray and go, okay, how much do you want to charge for water rates this fall? And then we're going to have to factor that into a new, water restriction tier rate.
Well, I get that. I guess for me though, I understand that is I was under the impression, or I thought, our thought was with this, I know that because it's basically paying back for everything we paid
Mhm.
before. It's gonna put enough in the big bank.
And isn't it also so that we can keep the system going? It's not just a payback.
Well, we did that with the first $2 raise. That's what that's.
We ate that up. with-
I know, but we're moving, I'm thinking in the future.
Right, no, and I agree, is it enough?
The past, we implemented that $2 raise for the implementing of the fixing parts and broken
Yeah.
stuff. And then this 2 cents is, I'm just gonna use the word, it's supposed to go into a water account so that when we get to the point of needing that extra money for whatever resource we need for water, whether it's divers, a new well, a new reservoir, with that money, it's gonna add up to something. I guess, so that when we get to the water rate redo,
Mhm.
we don't have to worry about coming up with $100,000 because we've took all these 2 cents and we put them in a thing where we're now sitting on 75,000, 60,000, 80,000. Does that make sense?
Hopefully this is gonna be the last year that we have to worry
I know,
about this,
but-
right? So if we can get through the, the legal battles and stuff like that to get this new well in, right? All this money that we're gonna be generating for, the water recovery plan, if you will go towards the city instead of towards trucking in the future,
I
right?
get that.
So, if we're gonna try to continue going up at a higher rate to pay for hopefully what is a 1-year thing, are we gonna be able to dial it back
Well, then
whenever the time comes,
that
right?
raises the question, why even raise the rates at all then, if we don't have to worry about the
I don't think
situation,
we
because we
should
do
bank
have.
on it.
We do have
That's
shortfalls, right?
Well, yeah, we have spent more money on water hauling this year than we have brought in for water total.
Right.
So this recovers the cost of our general fund paying for our water stuff.
And that's a lot because of, we
Yeah.
haven't implemented this for a full year period. We get it at, a half a year or, a third of a year. And, since I've been on council, this is, the third time that we've raised water rates. And the first time was, like a 30% increase. It was significant, right? So then we just did it again. Now we're doing it again. So, I mean, when are they gonna start crying uncle?
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
I mean, our options are very gloomy going forward. If we decided to make no change to water rates at all, we could use the rest of our reserves, but that would be it. You could not ever do that again. Then you would have no choice but to jack up things forever. So
But that's where I'm like, yeah, so like, what I was trying to say is 2 cents enough. Do we go 3? I wanna see a projection of what 2 cents does into a coffer in 6 months, right? So if we know we sell 600 and something thousand gallons, we can divide out of how many households, 7,500 per household off of that. That's gonna give us the number of gallons above 7,500 times 2 cents. That'll give us amount, how much we paid, then you can add that per month, because it's kind of an average, right? And that would give us how much money we would actually have raised. I want to see a larger plan of not just what's 2 cents. I want to see 2 cents added up over thousands of gallons, right? So that we have money raised and we're not just throwing a number and saying, hey, that's cool.
yeah,
But really, we should have went 3, maybe we should have went 4. You know what I mean?
by the time you make that decision, if we're losing another 2 or 3 months out of the year, right? And that's a value that we need to take into account as well, right? So
We're kind of,
the essence is basically what I'm saying.
well, we spent that whole work session getting to this point, but not knowing how much will that generate.
yeah,
That's,
It's how many
yeah.
people are over 7,500 consistently.
Well,
well, that's not even what I'm worried about. I just was using that as a generic number or a cutoff.
No, but I think it is, we're saying anything over 7,500 is just,
Less than
200.
your household.
yeah, so it's not gonna be thousands and thousands of dollars.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's why you
it's
just
not,
leave it.
it's not gonna be a lot, but it will help with the cost recovery for this year. And hopefully get people used to knowing that it's going to cost more if you're using water like that.
Yeah, I don't know that 2 cents is enough. And it is a very small amount of people. It's 10% of our population. Not everybody's getting 2 cents. It's only the people 7,500 and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I think keeping it, I think having it be 4 cents over 7,500, just having that be the norm is probably going to work out best financially, generate a lot more money.
That's the number that I would think. You know, with in the summertime, when all these people are going over the 7,500. Makes us go into water restriction and start trucking sooner. You know, and that's where a big issue is. There's so many people in Sodaville that watch their water on a point where they're never over the $47. But then you get, the people that come in and say, I can't cut down on 16,000 gallons. I don't think I'm much my wife could bring grass.
Well, I mean, if you think 4's the number,
I think 2 cents is not.
Yeah, I think 4 is.
and that kind of goes to anywhere else with that. Is that enough to cover?
But I want everybody to be sure of what they're doing. If we need to table it and have a bigger discussion of it, I want everybody to be sure about it.
Well, I'm sure, I would like to see what the numbers are, like. And I think that's a pretty easy thing. If I would have known that this was the price, I should have called. That this is what we were gonna get into or more questions. I could have quickly looked at all the information JD has given me through the last couple of times and I could have crunched those numbers. Said, oh, it's gonna be 30 grand over 3 months. That's gonna be enough. That'll cover a third of the water hauling if we have to haul water system before it's 30 grand. We didn't have to do it. Now we got that for a new PCL in the next 20 years or whatever. I wanted to make money. And if it's not gonna be enough that it's worth it, I say we table it and we figure out until we get things going. Or we need to make it significant good enough that it's gonna make our bank account grow.
Yeah, well, if we're talking about the next 6 months of water raise, we change it tonight and the next bill goes out for this month. We're talking about 6 more months of water and we can calculate, there's gonna be, I don't know, maybe not quite 20,000, but it'll be a good chunk extra. Like maybe 15. Let's go with 15. If we could add an extra 15, that would be
That's
great.
significant. We wouldn't have had to do that little money transfer last time, right? I mean,
So
okay.
I'd go with, I think 15 is a workable projection for that.
And that's at 4.
That'd be roughly at 4.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wouldn't plan on making any budget changes after that. We just let this money come in, and then at the end of the year, we go, hey, we have more money than we thought we were. So, yeah, I don't want to go, hey, look, we have all this money now, so we're
I
not.
have checks, so I have checking money in my check.
Yeah.
I guess we get confused on going through the water restrictions. So at the 4 cents now, is that where we're at? Water restriction?
Yes.
And we're gonna just keep it at 4 cents moving forward.
Well, no, this fall, we're going to have a new tier system.
I get it. Okay, we're just gonna keep this rate going right in.
Yeah.
To,
The water restriction.
Yeah.
we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Next season. Yeah, I mean. Graham Sodaville ain't gonna change those.
It's all about you.
No, I'm just trying to think of the other people.
Well, there are not that many people that are
That's
satisfied.
why I'm gonna keep stuff I gave you guys, I'll suggest that'd be fine. Because 10% or less than 10% of people not going in day in. Cover it down.
About 5,000 gallons.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, it was hard.
Well, when I was in Idaho over the holidays, I just got with people that are from northern Idaho's rural. They get charged $70 a month for, it was 70,000 for 5,500 gallons. So $70 for 5,500 gallons, but they couldn't tell me what they pay over that because they don't really go over that. But that was just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, you're even more expensive than where we're at.
Anything, the trucking and cost you guys in cents again.
Yeah.
And so.
Like a lot of other cities do, you know, if they run out of water, they run out of water. So, I mean, we could say you get 3,500 gallons, you go over that, you get shut off.
Water is becoming ghost now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying that, well, we don't have to truck it, right? So we could just
If you
cut
want
them off.
to you want to stay, yeah, you want to stay, yeah.
Well,
It does help, this isn't a guarantee, but we had a good conversation with Representative Kate, last winter, and, she is going to put forth a funding request for us to get some money this fall. It's not a guarantee, by any means, but there's a good chance that we can get some funding for this. So they're working with the relevant people in the House of Representatives to figure out, okay, where in the budget can we pull $60,000 from Sodaville? Let's make sure we get that to them. And it's possible we're not going to have to jack up the water rates quite as much because we will have state assistance. We just gotta wait and see. That'll
Yeah,
be
I don't
something
want
that
to
they-
rely upon that.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna say, hey, we're gonna get that, so it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna say, wait until the legislative session ends. If we get it, we're gonna be in the clear. If we don't get it, then yeah, we're gonna have to jack them up a lot.
I like 4 cents. I don't, 5,000 occasionally. I go over that when I'm in the summertime and stuff before we water ration. And I put a bucket in my shower to save my water, but I could support that if, 5,000 would be better. I don't know how you feel about that.
Simple.
Don't shower?
That's what the paperwork I did. If I can speak, I put a 5,000 gallon cap on it and then everything after 5,000 gallons, you pay the actual cost. If that's the instant gallon of the stuff in here, have 5,000 gallons, you pay that. That's kind of what they represented.
So that would be during water ration.
Right.
We're done the rest
Water
of the year.
restriction, yeah. Yeah. But we're not talking about water.
So what about now?
No, I think people can use it 4 cents.
At which 5 or
I
75?
don't think, because you're not touching the 10
Yeah.
people. But, yeah, 75. If you drop it down to 5, you'll have more people involved with it, which will make the revenue come back quicker. And also, if you do that now,
it possibly
should it get the people's attention that are right near the 5,000? And they will start conserving more, which will help next summer as they get different habits.
Oh, yeah, it would impact me, but I can support it.
Okay. So I want to say a couple things. When we're going to amend on the floor a proposed ordinance, the city charter says I have to read clearly and distinctly what that amendment says. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we can walk through the rest of the script. If that is good with you, Mr. Mayor.
Table this instead of, because I think there's more opinions here than what we get.
I agree with that.
There's a consistent table.
But,
Okay.
you know, not, I don't want to wait months and months and months. You know,
Yeah.
if we need to.
So let's set up the work meeting before or next, you know.
All right, do we want to do that? Is it 2 weeks from today? That would be, oh, come on.
Okay.
Yep, the 8th.
It's for me.
Right.
And maybe JB, if you can have those numbers again, so they can have an idea.
We do need
Yeah.
to motion to table the item until until the council meets on the 8th. So somebody just needs to move.
Table. This discussion until I get.
I,
Any opposed?
No, you can close the public hearing since we're. Well, the next one should be resolution 2401. So this was originally introduced to move $10,000 over from LGIP into our checking account, but we're not going to do that. We're going to move 5 over. Yay. And then we're also going to transfer $496 from checking into LGIP. As we know, the ordinance that added $2 into the water bill for the base rate says we're going to keep that in reserve for repairs and maintenance. And until we need to use it, it stays over there. So the money is going back in. We do keep track of that separately. I think as of now, we've only used it once so far, but in that fund, we have $1,161.42. So we're adding $496 to it.
you say that again, 1,000.
1,161. Yeah. So somebody would have to basically say we want it to be 5,000, then somebody has to say I need to adopt the resolution as amended.
Just to adopt the resolution 2401 as was amended.
Yeah.
Okay. 10 feet. Not 10B, 10 feet.
Aye. Any opposed?
All right, Mr. Mayor, the next one, Board of Directors. So right now, Councilor Oliver is the director to the Oregon Cascade West Council of Governments, and Councilor Parsons is the alternate. They would like to do a little switcheroo. So you will need to appoint Councilor Parsons to the position of director. and appoint Counselor Oliveri to the position of alternate director. And then the council has to vote on confirming their appointments.
And if somebody else wants to be the alternate. I'm
Yeah,
fine with
that's
that.
also.
I have Joseph Parsons to the Oregon County East West Council of Government's Board of Directors. And Dean Alderis as the alternate board.
You need to make a motion.
Okay, I moving back. If I so move that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say, I move to confirm the nominations.
I moved it from their nomination, don't we? So,
All in favor?
So Alex said, will you let them know so they send him the emails?
Yep, I'll let them know.
The report on that and public comment.
I make motion to adjourn.
One second.